Hi everyone, I'm Brooke Day and welcome to my YouTube channel. So here it is, episode 10, last episode of season 1. It's taken me a full year to get here, but I really appreciate this whole process. I want to give shout outs to my guy Jasper. He's been my director slash photography slash camera guy, whatever it is you want to call him. Him and I have been putting these videos together and it's been a lot of fun this first year. So what are we going to do for episode 10? Well, I think something that's pretty much practical that we could all use right now, and that is how to renegotiate your rent during a crisis. I mean, we've got something unprecedented happen right now, and I think the last time I could remember anything like this was 2008 and 2009, and this is far worse than 2008 and 2009, folks. You know, this has been really tough. However, renegotiating your rent during this time should not really be a problem. It should be pretty easy. Why? Because it's very simple. Landlords are your partners. They're not someone you pay a service to. They're not someone that you pay a production fee to. They're someone that's working with you to provide a space. Most of these landlords, they have a line of credit out, or they have some kind of financing on the space that you've leased from them. In a lot of cases, they don't own it outright. So together, you and them are partnering to make payments on that facility. So they want to entrust you to continue to be their partner. So if things are hard for you and you have a good right, like a pandemic or a virus or a major financial crash, they're going to work with you. So that's number one. You got to keep that in mind, that they're your partner and they're going to want to be together with you. Second thing is you got to know the law is on your side. Now, not all landlords are the most friendly type. They're real estate's a bureaucracy in its own right. It's a major market, and people who are in it, there's set rules, there's set boundaries. They live in those boxes and they don't like to make changes because they kind of don't have to. But you got to understand that there's things like force majeure and act of God provisions in all contracts. In a virus, in a pandemic, in a global depression, or the financial crisis in 08 and 09, they kick in these times. So you do have legal standing to go to them and do that. And if you know your rights and you know the law, you can apply that in conversation with your landlords. Now, you have to be very comfortable with the fact of bringing that up, because it has to come up. And that's part of negotiations. Negotiations are never a fun thing. Generally, negotiations are a little bit of verbal back and forth. There's a little bit of a verbal scrap. You gotta get your hands dirty a little bit, or else it would be just called asking permission. Negotiations comes with a little bit of push and pull, so to speak. But you need to know the law. So that'd be the second thing. Third thing, don't be scared. Knowing that they're your partner and that they're relying on you, and that you've got the law on your side, and in these times especially, public relations are on your side. Like, no one wants to see business close at this time right now. We want to stay open. So anyone who wouldn't be willing to sort of work with you would be looked at as an unfair person, or uncooperative type for the community. We're all trying to keep our businesses going at this time. So you've got to understand that those things are out there, okay, and you have to use them. So those are 3 really key things, all right? Now, how to close the deal, how to make an offer. My advice to you is always look at it like this. Don't try to take anything off the table. Again, that's your partner, okay? If you're asking for, let's say, a 20% reduction, then tell them that you're going to give them 20% on the back end. Don't just say, I want 20% cheaper. That's not what a partner does. That's not how you work. So if you anticipate as an owner or as an executive that business is going to be slow for a year, you say to them, listen, you give them your reasons, you tell them your story, and you ask for 20% off for this year. And then tell them, in the final year of my agreement, I'll give that back to you. And of course, there's ways where, if they don't have necessarily a full year at the end of the back end, you just say, we'll re-sign for 2 more years. We'll give you 2 more years. We like our location. Most of the time, if you've been at a location for at least 4, 5, 6 years, you like it. And if you're a gym, you're entrenched in it too. Your members expect you to be there. It's okay. Resign early. Give them that upside. But you're never taking anything off the table in these negotiations. Okay? Especially if you were the ones who negotiated the original deal. Because you had made an agreement and you want to keep your agreement and your relationship together. So again, if you're going to ask to be have something taken off, then you have to put it back on. That's a good way to look at it. Now, some landlords and our landlords have come back to us and they didn't want to do that because, of course, in that way, you always ask for a lot. You know, you ask for a lot, maybe 30% off. They don't want to do that. And they've got their reasons. Maybe their reasons are because their mortgages are too much or their loan was too much. They can't take a 30% haircut. They might come back to you and say, listen, maybe we give you 15% or 10% for 6 months and you don't have to pay it back. I mean, that's the way some of our people have worked with us, and that's a pretty good discount. So there's 2 ways you can do it. A big ask where you make a cut and then add it on the back end. And then maybe you can accept a smaller cut of what you don't pay back. Those are the 2 different frameworks that you work in. I would always suggest, as good salespeople always do, of presenting both options and having someone to commit to one and then working on that one option back and forth, because that's what you do in negotiations. But that's really the general framework that you work off of. Again, and in these situations, guys, you do it with a smile on your face because these are your partners. These are people that you need. Okay, and keep in mind too, very important closing note, very important is that you can't let this negotiation devolve into negativity, okay? If it's a good location and you've made money there as a gym owner, you're gonna wanna stay there. And at the end of your lease, if you had a bad experience in this process, you might be not asked back. So you got to be happy, you got to be positive, you have to educate them on your situation, the law, precedents that are out there, and then show them that they're able to work with them. And if you do, you're going to get a great deal and you're going to save your business and you're going to take the stress off your staff and you're going to be able to push through this pandemic. Because at Anytime Fitness, ALC, we're all about pushing through it. We're survivors here. We've worked really hard in these times, and I will be making season 2. Okay, season 2 videos. Myself and my guy Jasper, who's like looking at his phone right now and not even paying attention. We're gonna be planning something really big for next year. But anyways, thanks a lot for the support this year, guys. It's been really a lot of fun. This is harder than it looks. You get nervous when you start looking at the camera. You don't know what you're supposed to do. You start to become aware of all the little idiosyncrasies you have with your hands and your eyes, and it's tough. It's tough. It's a self-examination, but I've had a lot of fun this year. So thank you. And remember, hit subscribe, smash the notification bell, and go hard, get better, and I'll see you at the gym.
They used to say we were dreaming, and now I got this life-size feeling. So I'm like, oh yeah, I got a feeling that